Hey there. Whenever I walk towards my campsite and I see a few dead trees, like that one, or it's just partially dead, you'll get good branches off of those. And whenever I see a nice branch like this, a nice curve, I always gather that for bow drill. And also, I'm on a constant lookout for nice dry hazel that's still standing, that's not rotten. Apparently, that's really hard to find. We'll see. Now, number one, I could have just taken this little tree with the whole root, since it's been dead for a while, and if I had the leverage, I could just pull it out, bend it. Number two, the knife bites in very well, but this wood is really hard. Number three, it's a straight dead tree. I might not use it for anything, but I'll take it up to my campsite, and it was a good opportunity to see if I can damage this baby a bit, but so far nothing seems to damage it. Whenever I find a bigger piece of wood on a trail and it turns out to be rotten, I don't take it with me, but what I do is prop it up against the tree, because I will be out here tomorrow or in a week or two, and sometimes I gather wood for fire, and even though it's a bit rotten, it's going to be very dry in a week or two, and it's going to make good firewood. This is the sort of day I like to call a lazy day. I don't really have to be anywhere, so basically I'm out in the woods the whole day, not doing anything. Walking around, looking for stuff, and whenever I get the chance, testing my knives. And because there are not so many people out in the woods today, although I don't understand why, it's a perfect day for coming out in the woods, I can leave my backpack almost in sight, and I keep checking on it. So I really have a lot of time to just walk around, look, and on this part of the hill there are a lot of deer paths, and this is one of them. I'm not sure if I'm focusing the camera. Goes like this, behind that tree, and then upwards. That's another fun thing to do. Another fun thing that I like to do in the woods. Might not be fun for some people, it is a lot of fun for me. This right here is one of those branches that actually it's a small tree that died a while ago. I found it on the ground and I propped it up against this tree. I don't know when that was. I'm like a squirrel. And it's really dry now, so I can use it for firewood. Also, I'm getting close to my camp, so I started gathering up small pieces of wood to make fire lighting a bit easier. And usually, this is how I get to my campsite. I really like gathering materials for future use. But does take a lot out of you. Sorry about the thumb. Now, I'm just gonna sit for 15 minutes and chill. Whenever I do have the time, I like to clean up my bows. And I've debarked this one, made it nice and smooth. And initially I thought about leaving this little knot on because it will hold the string perfectly. But dogwood is so hard, if you cut a notch into it, it won't break. And I don't really need this, so I'm just gonna carefully cut it off, piece by piece. You can really see how hard this wood is. The blade just wants to slip. Very, very hard. But I'm not in a rush. Here's another thing I enjoy doing when I have the time. I enjoy making spindles. Now this spindle is a bit thick. Not that you couldn't get a friction fire with it. You can, I've tested it. But I'm just looking to make it as thin as possible. Well, not as thin as possible, but very thin, and get a fire. Now, the goal of this video is not really to teach you anything about friction fire or to show you how friction fire works. It is to make char cloth and try to start a fire with flint and steel. So, but up till I get to that point, I have to make the spindle, look for a hearth board, get a coal, make a fire, make the char cloth, and then make my flint and steel fire. One of my favorite carving woods is willow. It's really easy to get a spindle from this thick to this thick, and to make a spoon and everything, and you make nice shavings, and you can see really clean cuts. Willow is just a very, very nice wood to work with. Burns great, and you can carve it great out of willow. You can anything. Yeah, in no time. Alright. Now I found my piece of hazel. The only problem is it's not really dry. I cut this piece off with a saw, debarked it with my pocket knife, and now I'm going to have to make a board. I'm going to have to see that keep as much of the width as possible, or maybe thin out the spindle. Whichever way I decide to go, I'm going to have to be careful. And this is also a new chance for me to test my military. I work quite a lot with this knife, and I've worked mainly in the woods, cutting wood with it. But I've also cut a lot of cardboard. I'm gonna have to set this on a piece of wood and carve more controlled to get a nice flat surface. So I got my hearth board, which I've already drilled a little hole in, and it's wet. I got my dry willow spindle, and thinking about cutting the notch before I start drilling. See what happens. Before that, I have to process some wood, because if you get a coal and you get a flame but you don't have the wood ready for your fire, you're gonna have to do to do it all over again.